Hello everyone and welcome back. I thought I would do a follow-up video on the diesel heater that I had back there because once I did the video and it was like the first time I ever used it, now I'm back up to the tent again, and when I first got here yesterday I started it up and it really did help heat everything up really nice. But there was several questions and comments that came up on it, and I thought, you know what, I'm not going to sit there and answer all of them because some of them, you get the same question plenty of times, and there were some good tips in here too. So I thought I'm going to do a short video on this, go over some of the stuff that people brought up, just so I can explain it to you, and then people also respond and I learn more about it. So one of the questions that I got a lot was, when I started it up, there's that ticking sound. This morning when I woke up, I put wood on the wood stove, but back here it's always cooler because it's such a small opening to get everything in here. And it was a little bit chilly, and I just grabbed my little remote, pushed the on button, went back to bed, fired right up, and heated this whole area up. It was really nice. When it first starts, the glow plugs in there have to heat up. Now you can hear that it's fired up, and that fuel pump gets faster, I suppose, as it's feeding it more fuel. Even in that short amount of time, that fuel pump was already getting quieter. And it takes about 10 minutes. I mean, it starts blowing out heat right away, but it takes about 10 minutes till it really starts blowing out the heat. And one thing I did notice, because I have a lot of people mount them inside in whatever building. Most people do, to be honest. And then just have your exhaust going out and your air intake for the combustion chamber, because that's totally separate from the air chamber that's doing your air coming in, the warm air. They have that outside. I don't want to do it that way because I'm trying to keep it mobile. I want to be able to have it here and bring it home and use it in the fish house, do anything like that. So I'm not mounting it inside here and having it out all the time, because for something like that it would be more complicated also, to set it in there. But what I noticed was, because I have the air coming into the tent, the back side of that on top is where the air gets sucked in. Well, I had the exhaust shooting out the back, and the wind was coming this way toward the tent. So then some of the diesel fumes, the exhaust fumes, then the smell of it, a little bit of it got into that air intake and came in here, and it smelled like diesel a little bit. So there again, what I talked about before, and some people did not think that was a smart idea, and I honestly don't think they know what they're talking about. I don't think that I think that they were thinking I was talking about the combustion, and they're two separate entities inside this little box. So I want to have the intake coming from the building and then shooting the warm air back in, which is a smart way to do it, because then, like right now, it's 31 degrees outside. I'm taking 31 degree air and then heating it up and pushing it into the tent. In the tent right now, up here, it's 79 degrees. So pretend it was 79 back there. Then you're sucking in 79 degree air and heating it up to shoot it in. See what I mean? It would be just much more efficient. And then there's no chance of any smell from outside, the fumes or anything, getting into the tent. So, and with this kind of a unit, people were talking about carbon monoxide detector and everything, which I have a carbon monoxide detector here, but you don't need it because everything is vented outside. You know, if the air is coming in, there's nothing that's coming in, so that's not as critical as like if you have a propane heater. Like the worst ones are like those sunflower heaters. Them things about kill you sometimes. So that was one of the things that came up. Another big one that came up, I might as well cover it now, is they see a lot of people building a box and putting it in the box, insulating the box so that the fuel doesn't gel and everything, and it would keep the battery warm. I can see the part about the battery being warm, and I think a box would be a great idea. Like I said, all I'm doing is trying it out right there. It's not going to stay, you know, I'm not just going to chunk it out there. When I come up here for the winter trip, there is a minimum of 3 feet of snow, sometimes 4 feet of snow right there that I will have to dig out and set it there. It's not made to be sitting outside in the elements, like, I mean, it is right now and it's working just fine, but it should be inside of something because they're supposed to be mounted inside the building. But, so I would do a box or even a roof over it or whatever. One person that had one said that he found it best to have less bends in the actual pipe that's shooting the hot air in, so like build it up so it's a straight shot, which would be smart. And like I talked about in the first video, I would want to have that be an insulated pipe. This was just a trial run to see how it works and if it works and if it's something that I thought was a, you know, a decent product, which I really do. Oh, another thing, they talked about the fuel gelling, like I mentioned. I don't know where they're living, but in Minnesota, I mean, you know, that thing doesn't use much fuel, so you'd have to buy it. In the wintertime, all of our fuel is already treated at the pump. So, but as winter goes on, it's more and more. Like when it first starts, I believe October 1st, it's only treated for like 10 below zero. By the time we get up into January, they're treating it for 30 to 40 below zero. I think 30 below is what it is. Because with my diesel truck, I've never had a problem with the gelling, except for when I drove it one time, my black one, it was 36 below zero, and that's the only time I had a truck that gelled up on me. And yeah, it kind of freaked me out, you know, but it was cold that morning. But if it's already treated, you don't have to worry about it. One thing I did not cover in the last video, because right now diesel is like between $4.39 a gallon here and $4.89 a gallon, but that's for your, you know, number 2 diesel going into your truck. For something like this, you can buy the off-road diesel that, you know, you use in forklifts, farm equipment, everything, way cheaper, less than half price, because, you know, it doesn't have all of the taxes on there because it's for, you know, other uses besides riding on the road. So that's another thing. It's a different color. You know, they color it so they can do the dip test. If they ever pull you over, they can make sure you're not putting it in your truck, because it's the exact same diesel. Just because you don't pay taxes on it, they color it, so if you ever got pulled over and checked, they would be able to tell. So, but anyway, as far as the fuel gelling goes, I'm not too worried about that because they treat it. But like I'm saying, since that uses so little fuel, if I buy it in July and I've got a 5-gallon thing of it up here, I should put some, like, you know, 511 or whatever it's called. I don't know, it has the red cap in there just to keep it from gelling. This stuff here I bought, and this stuff is good until 10 below zero, so we're good there. So we had to cover the fuel gel, the cabinet, raising it, and then the fumes inside. Yeah, we talked about that. And then the fuel pump, which we can, well, it hasn't been quite 10 minutes yet, so we can wait with that. How much fuel does it use? We'll have to take a look. When I had it up here last time, all I had put in there is maybe 3 cups. 2 cups or 3 cups, probably 3 cups. So this time I filled it right up to the top when I had it this time. And now yesterday I ran it from 11:15 until 6:35 last night. So 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, I don't know, 7 hours and 15, 25, and 20 minutes. And then today I ran it for an hour. So let's just say we ran it for almost 8.5 hours now. And now we're going to run it right now for what, 10 minutes? So yeah, be about 8.5 hours. We'll see how much did it burn. I don't know how much goes in there though. I would have to look that up on my stuff, and I might be able to do that before the end of the video. For some reason it feels like there's not quite a gallon in there, but I could be wrong. It seemed like I was dumping it in there forever, but it's so tiny. Okay, so we've got that figured out. Now I'm just going to look through these comments and we'll go through a couple other things that people said or asked. One person suggested that I put one of those in the outhouse, and I thought, what a great idea. But I would get then, it's a different kind of a diesel heater. Let me look them up here. I can't seem to find what I'm looking for. The reason why I know that they have one, like this is the kind I didn't get, it's tall and narrow. The one that I did get was like this, shorter and wider. But when I got my directions, it was not for that. That's why I complained about the directions. It was they're like this, and they're small. And then the fuel tank goes outside. If I had one of them put a little shelf in the outhouse, run the exhaust and the intake outside for the combustion chamber, and then they have a line that goes out there with the fuel pump, and you can have your diesel can, the little thing that holds the fuel outside. I could just sit at the back door and hit the remote and fire that thing up, and the outhouse would be warm all the time, which would be really nice. It was right here. KO to guard 4616. How about one for the outhouse? And I thought, you know what, that's a great idea. Set it outside in a plastic container with a lid. Cut out the container as you need it. That way, for the exhaust for the heater and hose stays out of the weather. Everything else stays out of the weather. We covered that. A lot of people have put these in. Some people have them in their, like the cab of their semi, in their vehicles, in their campers. This person used their fish house, like I want to do in an emergency, and they even have one for their chicken coop. I had a lot of people that, because I just started doing these paid promotion type things, send me the product and I do a review on it. Because I thought after 100,000 subscribers it's time. And of course there were some people were leaving, but a lot of people were positive about it. I'm actually going to talk about that a little bit more in the video where I show my 100,000 subscriber plaque. I've got to do that. I was supposed to do that this week. That's what I was telling myself. I should have the battery inside from the cold. Well, that would be easy enough to do. There were other things that I talked about that I would do. Like I said, I'm just having it out there right now because I wanted to test it out and see how it works. Is that thing rated to be running outside in minus 20? We'll find out. I don't see why not. I mean, if your battery isn't frozen, your fuel isn't gelled, it's a heater. It should work just fine. How did my hernia operation go? Haven't done it yet. I'm waiting till after the first of the year. That's a sweet little unit there, Joe. I think it's smart to install it outside. The fuel pump click will drive you crazy. We'll go out there here in a minute and you'll see that it's not that bad. I still like them outside. A lot of people put them inside, but I just prefer it. The whole thing outside. It seems safer to me and everything. This guy has his inside of a 10 by 20 workshop in New England. No diesel smell issues. And he did like Zachary did. He got a 12 volt inverter. So just if you have electricity, plug it into electricity, and it just inverts it into DC power to run it. This person says that cardboard sleeve comes off and extends, Well, if you would have watched the video, you would have seen me when I had it in my hand and I was extending it. I just had to extend it that far. Always blow the cold air towards the heat source. That's another one. It's like, I don't understand that. I mean, duh. I mean, the cold air is going to go toward the heat source, it's going to get heated and then blow in. It just seems to me like if you're having warmer air going in, just like your furnace in your house, it's going to be way more efficient. This person says it sounds like it would be too noisy indoors. When you're seeing it outside, though, you're hearing the exhaust is making most of the noise. So when they mount it inside, you know, it goes out the bottom, and then that everything just goes outside. And I mean, I've heard them in. I watched videos where they have them like in a bus. You know, they had people were living in a bus or in a van or wherever, and you can hear them. But I don't think that it's really any louder than when the propane furnace, the forced air furnace in the fish house comes on, you know, or the furnace in your house or whatever. If you have forced air, you hear it, but I don't think it's all that much louder. And as cheap as these are to run, the little amount of fuel and the little amount of power they use, if you're cold, you know, hearing it somewhat isn't going to be that big of a deal. Up here at the tent, though, I'm used to the wood stove. Once this place is heated up, that thing is pretty much silent, and it just heats. But for the back part, it just takes a long time, so I thought that would be perfect. Another one for a tent outhouse heater. The tapping sound would drive me crazy. Like I said, we'll go out and look at that. This guy right here, Ken H8925. I have an 18-wheeler and I have one in the truck. I would never go without one. Can it be outside like in the weather, like rain? I explained that. This guy here, Bob Gibson, 1788. As long as the exhaust goes outside, the heater is safe inside. It's not waterproof. They are awesome. Just to add, I bought an exhaust extension pipe. I've seen that too, where people will run it, you know, just run it way out a ways, so that that diesel fuel smell is completely away from the building. This person here, seems like it would be much easier to plug in an electric heater. The biggest electric heater that you can get that's going to run on a, you know, 110 outlet or whatever, regular plug-in outlet, is only 1500 watts. This thing is putting out way more heat than that. I mean, we have a electric heater in our bathroom at the house, the big bathroom. You pop that on in the morning when you're taking a shower, it gets nice and toasty in there. But it would not, I mean, it'll help. I've got a 1500 watt electric heater in the bedroom of the tent here. And when it was really cold, I would plug that in, but it doesn't heat anything like this does. This is a whole different, not even in the same category. Bought my first one, this is Patty Casey, GSXR. Bought my first one around 6 years ago, and one of the best things I ever bought. Nice dry heat and cheap to run. Just put a 2 kilowatt in my camper van, and it's more than enough on the lowest setting. And he runs it off of his one of them battery banks. So, and this is a 2 kilowatt. I think this is an 8 kilowatt, 5 or 8. I can't remember. Add anti-gel. Here's another one, this Margaret Caraba, 8161. Are you going to make an elevated insulated box for the heater? Less chance that the diesel freezes. And this is a good thing here, animals don't mess with the wires from the battery. And she said she honestly doesn't know, but that could happen. You never know. And I brought up the thingy about it being a Chinese diesel heater. There were a bunch of comments in here about, I buy American or as close to American as you can. And that's all good and everything, but whatever you're buying that's American is something in it is made in China. So I just, you know, why do you, you know, spend $150 or $200 versus $1,200 or $1,400 and just, if you don't like it, you can buy 5 or 6 of them, you know, I mean, and it's just stupid because we don't, you know, everything's outsourced. It's just ridiculous. That mindset, it's too bad that it's that way, but that's just the way America is right now. Well, that is it for comments on that video. That's just a little video. You can see all the comments that I get. It's just, yeah, this video has 183 comments. When I get into the ones like Duck Camp 2023, 454, you know. Takes a while to get through them all. It really does. I read every single comment on every single video. I don't always respond to them, but I read every single comment. I don't know how many minutes it's been, but now it's blowing like super hot air. Like if you put your hand against it, you feel like it'll burn your hand. So I mean, you're really getting hot air. But I can smell a little bit of that diesel smell, and that is because I'm shooting that exhaust out there. The air is kind of heavy. It was lightly snowing, so you can smell it, and it's sucking that air in. Or if I had the intake to the combustion, not the combustion chamber, to the part that heats up the air coming from inside the tent, the air going in will smell like the tent air, and the air coming out will smell like the same thing because nothing else can get in there. And the reason why that's a big deal for me is because Melissa, if it smelled even a tiniest bit like diesel, she would not let me put it in the fish house camper or anywhere. I start my truck in the morning, she can be in the shower. I have to start my truck away from the house because, you know, when you first start up my truck, it smells like diesel all the time, you know, when it's running, and somehow that'll seep in and she immediately, like, she can't breathe. It really affects her. So for me to try to sell her on me putting one of these into the fish house camper, it better go in there and you better not be able to smell diesel. And I have to make sure that, like, if you go outside, you can't smell that diesel, the fumes from the exhaust. That's why extending that exhaust away a ways and then putting it on the side of the house that the door is not is going to be my, you know, the best thing that I can do. And I think I can make that work. And now you can see you can't hear that clicking because you could hear the clicking even with the exhaust going. Even if we get close, it's not there. It's just in the very beginning. I'm going to shut it off for now, though. Man, it's cooking me out. See how immediately it slows down, but it will still blow air through there for a while to cool down that chamber. And then it just shuts off. When I want to fire it up, push the on button. I've got a plus for more heat and a minus for less heat. Oh yeah, and I did do that because I don't know how they work. I just have it on full blast all the time. And when I turned it down, it did. It just slowed it down. Okay, everyone. Well, thanks a lot for watching. You know what? We need to check the fuel level to see how much fuel it has burned. We just added about 15 minutes or so to the burn time. I'll put the stick down there until it hits the fuel. Put my hand on top and I'll tell you how. You know, yeah, and I will look up and see how much fuel it holds. It's not going to tell you much though, is it? Just so you can see it, this is the top of the tank. That's the bottom of the tank. I had it filled to the top and it's burnt it down this far. So I would say this is about halfway. So we probably burnt what, 5/8 of the tank? And now we'll figure out how many hours it ran and how many gallons or whatever is in there. So it burnt more than half. Let's see. So we have to remember that all of the hours that I ran at this time, I had it on high. Because it says that it'll run up to, it can work 24 hours on one fueling, but you wouldn't have it on high. I had it on high all but maybe an hour and a half. I just will find out what the fuel consumption, how much it holds. One thing that I talked about a little bit in the last video is that with this one here, that the LCD panel is outside now, and somebody had mentioned in comments that they did what I did here, kind of, and then just extended the wires and brought that inside, because there you can just set the temperature. I want it to be 70 degrees in here. Heats it up to 70 degrees, shuts off just like in your house. comes back on when it gets down a ways. So, but the best thing I can find on here, it's between 1 gallon it's holding and 1.3 gallons. I don't exactly know which one I have. So we burnt what, 5/8 of a tank. So you can do the math, you know. Half to 3/4 of a gallon we burned, and I had that going for about 8 hours, of which probably close to 7 hours of that was on high. So if you dumped it down, because you can go way down because it comes out so hot, you can, like they said, you can get a 24-hour burn off of that thing. Okay, everyone. Well, like I said, thanks a lot for watching. This is not a paid promotion. All I'm doing is following up on the questions that were answered and letting you know what I learned about this diesel heater. And I think that they're really cool. I mean, now you know a few things that I have to make sure, like the smell of any diesel fumes coming in and stuff. They're the kind of things I have to do to win Melissa over on it. But all in all, I think that thing works great. It's a lot hotter than what I thought it was. It really is. I will see you guys on the next video.